Hello Jurassic fans, and welcome back to Cretaceous Cantina, where today we're having a look at the Mattel Jurassic World Primal Attack Extreme Chompin Tyrannosaurus Rex. I got mine for $24.99 off Amazon.com. They started shipping out last week, and I'm very excited to have it in the collection because even though there's not a whole lot of newness here, it is still based on one of my favorite toys in the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. Now, I do need to preface this video by saying this is a review by an adult intended for adults. Anyway, back to the toy. We have this brand new packaging expression that is new for 2020, even though some parts of it are hitting late 2019, like right now. But yeah, this looks really cool. I'm really digging the overall aesthetic, except for one thing. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you probably know what that one thing is. Hashtag where's Claire? Hashtag feminism. Hashtag girls like toys too. The rest of it though looks really good. I do like this new color palette with the black and the red orange and kind of the ashy looking sunset in the back. Very gloomy. Of course, you get the same old Jurassic World logo that we kind of always have. A little demonstration there on the Extreme Chompin T-Rex. Tells you that you can try it right there. Don't forget to plug in your tail. Just do it carefully so that it doesn't break. Now, I do think it's a little weird how this side of the box kind of has like this, like the flap doesn't go all the way to the end. It kind of stops here somewhat in the middle. It looks a little strange. I don't really know why they did that, but they did that. There's also like this map looking thing in the background that kind of looks like a screen or something. The top also just says Jurassic World. And at the back, we see what looks to be a very similar render to what we've seen before on the Extreme Chompin T-Rex. In fact, yeah, looks like it's the same exact picture from the previous version. It doesn't even look like they changed the paint, like maybe barely, but yeah, weird. They also did away with the Alan Grant that's in the back of the other box because I guess, Mattel hasn't figured out that they can pack in humans with dinosaurs, so no humans anymore. Yeah, Jurassic Facts app, that's nothing new. If you've enjoyed that and have been doing it, then you can still do it with this figure. And yeah, there it is in action. It actually looks pretty good right there. Like the coloring actually looks pretty film accurate there. Yeah. Not quite like the toy. The toy doesn't look quite that good. And then other items available in the Primal Attack lineup. Those are some Savage Strikes. This wave should be hitting pretty soon. So I'm going to go ahead and take a moment, get this out of the box, and we'll take a closer look at the new Extreme Chompin T-Rex. Here is a full body view of the Extreme Chompin T-Rex. Like I said before, there's not a ton of newness here. If you have any of the Extreme Chompin style T-Rexes, then you totally know what to expect here. The only thing they've done here is taken the paint scheme from the Bite and Fight T-Rex that was released as part of the Dino Rivals lineup and incorporated it onto this version of the T-Rex. So I will say that it looks good. I've always loved the Extreme Chompin T-Rex, even though previously the paint scheme wasn't really that film accurate. It was still pretty naturalistic and it still was passable as the Jurassic Park T-Rex. This time it's a little bit more film accurate, but it's still not completely there. And unless we're talking about a Amber Collection T-Rex, I don't know that Mattel is ever going to give us a truly film accurate T-Rex, at least in terms of color. I have no problems with the sculpt. I think the sculpt on this one has always been really phenomenal. It truly is a Jurassic Park T-Rex. It looks more like a Jurassic Park T-Rex than the Jurassic World T-Rex in Jurassic World. So we really need to hand it to Mattel for developing a beautiful sculpt. Of course, there are some exaggerations here with the feet being a little bit oversized, but it does stand up. This truly is the most entry level of Mattel's Jurassic World T-Rexes, but I find it problematic that the price was previously $19.99 and now it's $24.99. I don't know if that was done in response to some of the things that have been in the news lately about things coming in from China being a little more expensive going forward. So they wanted to be proactive on that. But all this really is a repaint, so I do find it a little disappointing that they raised the price by $5 when there was no R&D really involved other than applying one paint scheme that already existed onto an existing product. I'll go ahead and give you a close-up look here at the head. Like I said, this is a very film-accurate head sculpt. It's always been so. I've always been a huge fan of this sculpt. And really anywhere Mattel uses the Jurassic World T-Rex, they do a great sculpt, whether it's the Thrash and Throw, whether it's the Bite and Fight, the Super Colossal. They all look great. This is no exception here. This is really nicely detailed. You can see really fine sculpting details in here. the pebbling, everything is really nice here. It's also a very photogenic sculpt. Like this Extreme Chompin T-Rex, it's a little smaller than the other one, so it is portable. I think that's been one of the great things about it. I love taking photos with the Extreme Chompin T-Rex, and this will probably be my go-to from now on, now that we have one in this slightly more film accurate paint application. But yeah, I mean, just no matter how you look at it, it is really nicely sculpted. And it's interesting to see the new paint on it because we've seen this paint before with the Bite and Fight T-Rex. But now that we have it on the Extreme Chompin, it's just interesting to see how it looks. There are some weird things going on, like the button right here. Why is this like such a dark brown compared to this? It's a little strange, but you know, all we can do is review what we have. The eye is still this nice bright yellow. Don't really think it needs to be a really bright yellow, but that's what we got. The teeth are still kind of like this yellowy sort of color as well. Not quite as bright as the eyes, of course. You can see here at the jowls that we have some nice sculpting. You can see a little bit of the membrane folds that are inside the cheeks, in between the mandibles. You see it on this side as well. And if we look inside the mouth, it basically looks like it's looked before. So same colors. I don't see anything different there. The sculpt is the same. The tongue, all of that is exactly the same. The teeth appear to be pretty cleanly painted for the most part. Same thing with the head and the eyes. There's maybe a tiny little white speck right there. The eye, maybe here on this side, is has a little bit of like paint spillover, very slightly, not too noticeable. But the rest of it looks good. Unfortunately, they did not paint these front claws for raising the price $5. You would think that they could at least afford to do that. Apparently not. Now, I think when I did my Bite and Fight review that I referred to this as being kind of like the chocolate or salted caramel sort of T-Rex because it truly looks very chocolatey. I mean, the top of it looks like milk chocolate. Then you have this more darker chocolate here. And then, you know, you have more of these like nougat sort of colors like in here. And yeah, it's definitely, you know, kind of in that realm of chocolates and caramels, which I am so down with. I mean, dinosaurs and chocolate, come on. Yeah, the rest of it, you know, basically looks like a milkshake or a chocolate malt. And it looks nice. The claws are painted really glossy black, just like they were before. They still did not paint the dew claws, which again is a little disappointing, especially given the price increase. Here at the bottom, all the sculpted detail is still there. It looks pretty good. The tail, once again, they didn't paint like in different colors. It's just basically that malty sort of color. So yeah, it's a little annoying, but you know, I don't know what we would really expect at this point. That seems to be on par with what they're doing these days. For the most part, it looks good, but it does seem like they did their best paint work here at the head. Like you can see a little bit of a gradient kind of extending outwards from these parts of the nose and stuff. So for the most part, it looks good. Could it have been better? Yes, but it's good enough. All right, articulation. So we do have the articulation here at the top jaw as well as the low jaw. That is built into the action feature. I'll show you that in just a moment. We have the neck joint right here. That is the same as before. This is still the most articulated of the Mattel T-Rexes. You also have the secondary neck joint right here, which gives you some pretty nice movement to it. So I do like that. Both of the arms are on these hinges that also extend outward just a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. They are also very pliable arms. So, you know, that is pretty nice. Both of the hips, they remain on swivels. So you can move them back and forth. You can extend them outward like that. And the tail is still on that hinge joint. So you can go up, down. You can rotate it. I'm trying to be careful with it because, you know, I did have that one bull T-Rex that broke its joint. So yeah, not good. You can also swivel the ankles back and forth. So that function is still there. If you're doing the Jurassic Facts app, there is your code. They now seem to have yellow on them. So that's there. All right, the action feature, same as before. Press the neck, mouth opens nice and wide. Say, ah. All right, so here's a comparison of the original Legacy Collection Extreme Chompin T-Rex, which was available internationally as just the Extreme Chompin T-Rex in different packaging, alongside our new Primal Attack Extreme Chompin T-Rex. So you can definitely see that they are different. The original one is more of like a reddish, brownish tone version, whereas the newer one is, deeper. I think more film accurate, at least more accurate to Jurassic World in terms of the paint. This is still too bright for any version of Rexy from the films. That's more on par, but I don't know. I feel like the colors look a little more Jurassic World-y to me than they do Jurassic Park. I don't know. Which one do you guys like better? I mean, I really thought, like, when I first got it that I was going to be like, yeah, this is like way better, but I don't know. It's a little better. I don't know that it's like way better. It's still not film accurate, I think, what's the biggest problem for me, but it gets us a little bit closer. So I think by default, I would say maybe it's a little bit better. Here's the Battle Damage Extreme Chompin T-Rex, which basically the same thing as the regular one, only now you have all the blood painted on it. Would you guys like to see a Battle Damage version of the new Extreme Chompin T-Rex? I think it would be really cool, but I think it would be even better if they did something like they did with the new Battle Damage Spinosaurus, where they created parts of it that could rip away and reveal like the insides. I think that'd be really neat. Here is a comparison with the Destructosaurus T-Rex. Which is essentially the same thing with a retooled head. I have the mouth propped open with an acrylic rod. This one also has the magnet at the front of the snout and also the reddish metallic paint along the front top of the snout. So very similar to the regular Extreme Chompin T-Rex from previously, but also a little bit different. All right, and also the Bull T-Rex that Mattel did very early, I think it was very late last year, very early this year for the Legacy Collection. So this one's the one that came packed with the baby T-Rex that was also repainted. I don't love it. I feel like Mattel could have done a much better job. I feel like they just said, let's make it green and put some black splotches on it. I don't think it looks that great. The lower jaw and the color on the bottom is also way too contrasted from the darker green color. So that bugs me a bit. Here's a comparison with my custom repainted Extreme Chompin T-Rex. It's interesting for me to see the two of them together. And finally, we have the Bite and Fight T-Rex. So this is where the color palette comes from that Bite and Fight T-Rex. I really like the Bite and Fight, but I think I like the Extreme Chompin a little bit better. The Bite and Fight's cool. It's got a nice giant head, but as you can see, the neck looks a little funky. Not that the Extreme Chompin doesn't, but it doesn't look quite as weird as that. Now, it doesn't look like they verbatim took the paint detail and applied it to the Extreme Chompin T-Rex, at least in terms of the head, because I think this looks a little more detailed, like it's a little darker around the eye, it's a little darker here along the nose and along the snout. That is lacking from this version, so that's a little disappointing. I think that this looks a little bit better overall just because it is handled a little bit better. And of course, the Extreme Chompin T-Rex still scales nicely with human figures. So even though the Extreme Chompin is a little bit undersized, I don't think it's too noticeable that it's undersized. Maybe a little noticeable, but not terribly so. All right, friends, so there you have it. This is the Mattel Jurassic World Primal Attack. I think it's Primal Attack. It doesn't mention it on the box, but that is the new campaign, so I'm going to call it Primal Attack Extreme Chompin T-Rex. Overall, you guys, I think that they did a pretty nice job with it. It is nice to see this sculpt out once again with new coloration. I do wish that the coloration was as impressive as it is on the Bite and Fight T-Rex. They did kind of skimp a little bit on the paint detail on its head, which is a little bit of a bummer, especially when you consider that this is being charged at $5 more over that previous release. But other than that, it's nice. It's cool that it's back on the market. And I don't know how widely it's going to be released at this point. I don't know if this is replacing basically all the other T-Rexes that they've done. And for 2020, this is going to be the only T-Rex on the market. It's possible. We just don't know at this point. I don't know that I can really recommend it to you unless you're like me and buying everything because it doesn't really offer anything new. And like I said, the paint deco is nice, but it was done better on the Bite and Fight. So there's that. I still like it. I'm still glad to have it. I'll still enjoy taking pictures and stuff with it. But ultimately, I don't quite like it as much as I expected to. I like it, don't get me wrong. I just feel like it could have been a little bit better, a little bit more interesting, or, for $5 more, why not an all-new paint scheme that is even more film accurate, or who knows, maybe even something radically different that looks great, but isn't necessarily film accurate either. In any case, it's another T-Rex. I'm down with it for the most part. So, well, there it is. All right, guys, as always, let me know your thoughts down below. Will you be picking this up? Is it worth it? Would you like a Battle Damage version? Be sure you're subscribed to the Collect Jurassic World podcast. As always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Cretaceous Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.